and welcome back to another episode of On Campus here on the Solano College Sports Network. I am your host today, Brooklyn Gonzales, and today I have the special pleasure and honor to be joined by our very special guest, Anna Petero. Hi, and welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the invitation.
So why don't we start off by you just telling us a little bit about your background and who you are?
My background, I am from, by the way, it is AANHPI month, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander month. So from where, as a Pacific Islander in this diaspora, Nisam Bulavinaka, Maloelele, and good afternoon. I am from Fiji originally, came to this country in 1976. My sister adopted me so I could come to this country. They were LDS, and so they came to BYU. So when I came here, I was 12 years old. When they graduated, I was sent to Utah to live with my aunt and uncle, lived there for 6 years, and I have been here in California for the last 40 years. And so that's my background. And so that's how I got to be here and teaching here at Solano. I went to Chabot College as my undergraduate, San Francisco State, and here I am at Solano Community College for the last 20 some odd years.
Wow.
Yes.
So you have done it all and done everything in between.
Yes, absolutely.
So you've lived in multiple different places, which one has been your favorite so far?
So far, I really like California. I think before we were talking, I said I kind of like Hawaii. Growing up in Hawaii, I lived there for 6 years.
Yeah.
I wish I had had the opportunity to appreciate it
Yeah.
for what it is, because Hawaii is just a wonderful introduction to the United States, because it's a little bit of everybody, a little bit of people, few people from the mainland and people from all different cultures. That really, I think, is what the United States is. But second to that, I really thoroughly enjoy living in California for the same reason, a different kind of diversity. For example, I didn't know that Mexicans existed. I'd never met a Mexican person until I came to the mainland.
Well, I'm Mexican.
There you go, right? And that was in 1987.
Oh, wow.
Right? Didn't know many Black Americans because other than those who lived on the base in Hawaii, because we were mostly Pacific Islanders, right?
Yeah.
Filipino, Japanese, Chinese, Tongan, Samoan, and obviously Native Hawaiians and white people from mainland. So that's where I grew up. And so coming here, I love living in California because of that diversity and that many more languages. So I feel really comfortable living here in the state because of all the opportunities that he has too.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
And it seems like you're so involved in the community and just like people in general. So can you tell us a little bit about Adopt a Street and just how you got involved in that?
Well, I'm really committed to the community, right?
Yeah.
I come from a very collectivist culture. And for me, I believe that a community thrives together and grows together, and everybody has to do their part because we're part of this ecosystem.
Right.
So how the Adopt a Street started was, in addition to teaching, I've gone into politics. I'm the Fairfield-Suisun Unified School District Governing Board. In fact, I'm a board president right now. And so what happens, in 2016, I ran for office. And what happens, I was on Suisun Valley Road, which is on the way here to Solano College. I noticed all of this trash when I was putting up my signs.
Yeah.
And what I did was I just cleared the trash around or aside. And so my sign looked nice. Underneath that looked nice, but everything else still looked like a mess. So I said, this is ridiculous, A few months later, I lost that election. A few months later, I ran into our city manager. His name is David White at the time. And I saw him at the opening of it was the fire station opposite, right next to Rodriguez High School. And I said, man, I pay my taxes. What are you going to do about cleaning the streets? And he said, why don't you help? And that's all he needed to say. Why don't you help? People want to help, right? But there's like, where do I help? So
Where do I start?
Yes, where do I start? I like cleaning. I thought, I can clean. And so I said, well, what do I need to do? He said, come to my office on Monday. That was a Friday afternoon. Next Monday, I went to his office. He had 5 bags, big black garbage bags. So I said, okay, I took those. What am I going to do with this? I went to Home Depot, picked up some grabber and some gloves. And I'd heard, my father-in-law had told me about going back, who I met, who was in Arizona, told me about the Adopt a Street program. They have a program there. And I said, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And he goes, this is how they went to the city council Adopt the Street, and they provide all this equipment. And so I had that in the back of my head. And so I started picking up trash, and then I filled out 5 bags. I said, this is going to be overwhelming, because you know how you clean up and somebody else messes it up and you get angry, And also when you clean, you got to keep cleaning, because it's not going to just stay clean. Like if you
Right.
move into a new house, you have to maintain it, or else
Every day.
it's right. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
So in my own mindset, I said, well, if I clean up just 1 hour a week and fill as many bags as in that hour, I can manage that. So I did that. I filled all 5 bags in 1 hour, took a picture of it, pasted all over social media, sent a picture to the city manager. He called Public Works. They came to pick it up. Did the same thing the next week and the next week. And so somebody on social media saw me and sent me a message and said, may I help you? So she came in and started helping me. And so a few weeks later, somebody said, hey, this black lady on the street picking up trash. What are you going to do? So somebody from the city called me in. And so my friend Ruth, her name's Ruth, went into the city, and we had this talk about what can we do to adopt the street. So we were thinking, maybe do a competition. They said, no, people want to volunteer.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, they'll provide the bags, the vests, the grabbers, and then all we have to do is adopt the street. There are 47 streets. And then call them, take pictures, call them up, and they'll come pick it up. Pick the trash. So I do that every week, send it to them, they'll come pick it up, and then I post it all over social media. Now, 6 years later, 50 streets have been adopted.
Wow. It is crazy how one small move can make such a difference.
Yes.
And I know that just coming into Suisun and Fairfield, it's just so beautiful compared to like Backville or other areas that are around here. So thank you for everybody that just gets to benefit from that, and just
yes,
yeah.
I do it for your generation. I'm a grandmother. I'm going to have a grandson in 2 weeks. Two weeks
wow,
from Thursday. So I'm thinking of your generation and their generation. When we live in a clean environment, you feel good.
Yeah.
And when you live in a blighted environment, it's depressing. Think about when your room is dirty, right?
Yep.
You look around, it's overwhelming. Like, where do I start? And instead of that, you pile more trash on top of that. But if you keep it clean, you feel better.
Yeah.
And so that's what my mindset, and my goal is to have every single city in our county adopt a street. Vallejo has a adopt a street program. Not sure how well that's going. So soon just started an adopt a street program. I've been trying to get Vacaville there, because I'm on the school board, the Fairfield School Board, and I know a lot of these elected officials. So I've been trying to tell them, it's like, you need to start an Adopt the Street program there. And I've had a few people talk about it and said, I will go with you to your city council and talk to them about doing that. So if we can do that, why can't we be the best, cleanest county in the city?
Yeah.
Not only in the state,
in the country.
In the country, right?
Right.
It starts with one person.
Yeah. Then it can just trickle out into the rest of
Absolutely.
California, which we all know it needs.
Yeah. I think it was Mother Teresa and Martin Luther King Jr. who said, we can't all do great things, but we can all do small things greatly.
Yeah.
And it just takes one person. Well, think about you. Whatever your passion is, you can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm a college student. I'm 18, 19 years old. I'm just one person, but just one person can make a difference. This took 6 years, but it's doing it.
Wow, that's really encouraging.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
Good.
So, you mentioned a little bit about you being the president of the school board of Fairfield. Can you tell us a little bit about that role, and what do you do on a day-to-day basis for that?
Fascinating. I love, love, love that role. Well, I got elected in 2020.
Right.
Starting my second term now. And I had not ever been in a leadership position on the board. And so this year, when I got elected again in 2020, I realized that, look, the majority of our students are non-white. For the existence of that board and the school district, all of the board presidents have been either white women or men. I thought it's about time our students see representation that looks like them, right? And so that's why I ran for school board and president. And being school board president, I really enjoy it, because I feel like it's an opportunity to change the climate and to look at positivity, because I teach communication studies. My background, my undergraduate degree is in English with an emphasis in language studies. So language really has an effect on our behavior. Yeah. So what I started thinking about was, how do we use positive language? Because when you use positive language, it is encouraging, it's motivating, it's inspiring, it's uplifting, right? When you tell somebody don't, they just it's like it's deflating, right?
Yeah.
But if you tell them, here's what you can do, it's amazing. So little things like that, that's what I try to bring to the board is using positive language, taking but out of my lexicon, changing that to and, right? In addition to. And so on a day-to-day basis, I'm either responding to emails from constituents because as board president, you have to respond to them within 24 hours.
Mhm.
I am just I look up social media, see what's going on, right? Just get a gauge of what's happening in the community. I attend events just to have a presence. I engage young people. I've been asked to do lots of different engagements in terms of being a panel uh, moderator or an MC or just attend different functions. And so I do that. And so that's what I do. Like this morning, I went to, see one of the schools and take some water because the kids are going to the kindergarten kids are going to the zoo. So I thought, I'm just going to go do that. It's going to be fun. So just little things like that.
Yeah.
And then, so that's what I do. And then plus just running the board meetings. I meet with the board with the superintendent twice a month, 3 times a month, once just as a board member, trustee, and then twice to set the agenda and to finalize the agenda. And then I also sign a lot of certificates. So instead of doing a stamp, I like to sign my name. So I've done, I think, over 1,000 times I've signed my name.
Wow.
So that's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. And I really take, during board meetings, I take the opportunity for my opening statement to say something uplifting, and to celebrate our faculty and staff, because I think it's so important to feel valued. If teachers feel valued, that translates to the students,
Yeah.
right? And that makes the students want to learn.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's pretty much what I do. So I'm really trying to focus on positivity and encouraging, using positive reinforcement and changing language. And I've also implemented that in my teaching as well. Every once in a while, you kind of snap a little bit, right? But for the most part, it's, positive reinforcement. And even if I do critique students harshly, I tell them, I believe in you, because when you leave here, you're a freshman in life. And you have people who've been experiencing that life for 30, 40, 50 years, and they're going to beat you up. So it's important that you use your voice. And in order to use your voice, you have to be prepared. And here's where you get your critique, right? Because if you can't use your voice now, here, you won't be able to use it out there.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be equipped.
And that's for all of your generation, especially for a young woman, a woman of color in our society. Your voice is important. It needs to be heard. And don't let anybody shut you up, right? Because we haven't been in these spaces. They're not used to the sound of our voices, right? Remember when, I know you're probably a child, when Hillary Clinton ran for office.
Yes.
People made fun of her laugh. Why would you don't make fun of men's laughs, right? We make fun of our laughs because they're not used to our laughs being in the spaces. They're not used to our tone being in these spaces.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to men being. When men yell, right, we're used to that. When women yell, oh, you can't use that tone, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is, as board president, as a teacher of communication studies, is teaching young people to use your voice and empower yourself, and especially young women, right? Whatever your tone is, that's fine. Don't let people tone police you.
Yeah.
Right? And when you walk into a room, know that you're better than most and just as good as the rest. Walk in like you own the place before you even open your mouth.
Yeah. I need to take some notes because that was really
so like that. Exactly what you look like that. That's how you want to feel when you walk into a room.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I was gonna talk to you a little bit about your role as an educator and as a teacher. You're married to a professor here at Solano College, Professor Paul. So how has that kind of translated into your marriage, and like, what do you take from your marriage into how you teach and like all those roles that you do on a day to day?
My husband. I always get emotional when I talk. My daughter has taught me so much, Didn't mean for this to happen. But he is, I don't know anybody who deals with conflict management better than he does, who has just impeccable interpersonal communication skills. He really knows how to make one feel valued,
Yeah.
And so he's taught me that in terms of our relationship, in terms of our relationship, right? We've grown so much. And so that has helped. In addition, and being teachers, we really adore our students. So what we do a lot is that we brag about our students. Who's got the better student? Oh, I have the better students. He has the better students. So we do that, and what we do so well, it really helps being in the same profession, because we're always talking about what are you doing in your class and what are you incorporating that I can use in my class?
Bouncing ideas off each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of that. And so every semester we're trying new things, right? Just bouncing ideas off each other. And I think it's made us both better teachers, because the experience that he has and then just the newness that I bring, just those two married to each other, just cultivates, new and better ideas. And sometimes, think about products, right? You have the original Coca-Cola and then you take the new improved, right? So all of these, say, lesson plans that he may have had, you have a different perspective, interpretation of that, and then we incorporate that.
Yeah.
And so, and communication is so important. I used to be so close-minded and stubborn, and he used to say, and here's how we talk and here's how we build a relationship. It's about communication, and he's taught me how to be in a partnership, how to be in a marriage, what love means in that, familial partnership, love relationship, and then taking his expertise and translating that to the classroom.
Wow.
Right. And
Wow.
so, yeah. And so I just love him to pieces. Yeah, for just because he makes me feel loved, he makes me feel valued, and he's funny as hell, and he's just brilliant.
Yeah. That's super special. I'm so glad that, you have the opportunity and have a relationship with him, and it just makes you a better educator and person in general.
I feel lucky every single day.
It's amazing. I wanted to go into a little bit about your book. You are an author.
I am.
You wrote your book, The In Between: Navigating a Colonized World. What was the intention of writing that book?
The intention is that I didn't raise my children. And I lived in Utah. I'd been married. I had 3 children, and I got divorced. It was grew up a really good Mormon girl. So, grow up, get married, have kids. I did that. I grew up, I got married, I had 3 kids, and I got divorced, and I lived happily ever after. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. That's how I used to be. And so, because I didn't raise my children, my ex-husband got custody of the children.
Yeah.
When we moved here to California, I figured I'd be here now. My children live here now. And so I've since they turned 18, they all came kind of looking for me. And so I have 2 live in Berkeley, one lives in Sacramento, and then inheriting my husband's 2 young children. And I felt like I owed them an explanation, and also to tell them my story. Also, I'd read an article once that said, when you turn 60, you should write your memoir. Like I was telling you, talk to your grandparents, talk to your parents, because once we leave, all that information goes with us. So that was impetus of that. Also, since getting elected in 2020, when I got on the board, I'm getting into politics. Politics can get ugly. And I thought, before other people tell your story, you need to tell your story. Because when people talk about a person and then one has to defend themselves, like, why didn't you come up and say that in the first place? So I wanted to own my life, own all of the decisions that I made. Here is the result of my decisions, and it's real. And so it was raw. I started with, just my childhood and what it was like not having a father, and then just being shipped from one place to the next, to the next, to the next, and how that impacted my life, my psychological life, my emotional life, my physical life.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that was, it was really cathartic too.
Yeah.
Going through that, that's another reason why I really love my husband. He's such a good listener. And what makes him a good listener, he remembers stuff, like I'll say something.
And men aren't very good at that.
and typically not, right?
Yeah.
And you'll say something, it's like you think it's random, and he'll remember.
Wow.
I'll never forget. As an islander, like, our names are hard to pronounce, right? I will say a name, and he'll say, "Oh, is that your older sister? Is that this?" Like, he remembered. When you remember those kind of random things, that means something, right?
It's special to us girls.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's why I tell the young man, I say, you don't have to buy her a fancy dinner. What's your favorite flower? What's your favorite ice cream? Leave her a note. That means so much more.
It does.
Tell her shoes look good,
Yeah.
So it's those little things, yeah.
Right.
And so in the book, so that's it chronicles that, and then also it talks about how we met. He was my professor. I was 30 years old, 27 years old when I went to college. He was a professor who had moved up from Northern California. He was my debate coach. Right?
So it just,
yes,
that's how it happened.
exactly. And
Wow.
so I needed to tell my story before somebody tries to tell my story and tell it a different way.
Yeah.
Right? Like just the story, like, oh, a professor dating a student. Oh, scandalous.
Yeah,
right?
and like take it and do their own
exactly.
yeah. Would you recommend most people to write a memoir at 60? Like
yes.
you said you saw an article. Would you recommend that to people?
If nothing else, for your children.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I said, when you leave, all of that information goes with you.
Yeah.
And I learned this from he's a documentarian named Ken Burns. He did the history of baseball. He did an entire doc series on World War II. And he said, look at your generation, right? You have cameras on your phone. You can record your families and ask them. It's a video anthology for, what you call it? Yeah.
Documentary.
Ethnography. Yeah. Right. So if you look at pictures from albums, you have somebody has to tell you who these people are. And it's like their perception of what happened. So I don't remember where this picture was taken. But if you have a video, everybody can watch. You can, your grandchild will go listen to your voice and go, oh, I sound like that. Right? Oh, I look like that. And you have that moving evidence. Like, look at all these movies you watch. Those people are still here. Yeah. Right? Kobe Bryant, great basketball player. His children he'll forever be young. They'll always see him. Right? You have these videos of your family functions recorded. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's important. That is very important. Yeah, that's family history right there. And you have that, right? And that's Ken Burns was the one who said that. And so that's when I started writing. I started writing in 2022. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2023. And so during COVID, right? And so that's when I did most of my writing. And that was very helpful too. Oh, wow. Yeah. So yeah, you were a breast cancer survivor twice? Twice, yes. Yeah. How has those experiences like shaped you as a person and just formed your resilience and made you who you are today? Made me fierce, right? What do you do? There's nothing anybody can do, right? Yeah. Just having both forms of breast cancer. At first, I feel liberated. Yeah. And then I'm more aware now of what it is that we women have had to go through, and what we do. Just think about how much we spend on bras alone. And then you think, coming back to the pink tax, all of these extra things that we spend money on that men don't spend money on. Yeah, just me going to Target, like buying hygiene stuff. I'm like, why am I spending $100 on something this guy doesn't have to buy? Exactly, because something that happens to you naturally. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And that's where your voices come in. Yeah. When you young women finally get fed up, you'll do something. True. But not enough of you are fed up. If you're paying and paying and paying. Yeah. Right. It takes one of you to be fed up enough to do something. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. If you could go back to your younger self, what piece of advice would you tell yourself, like at any time, maybe before you moved to the United States, what piece of advice would you tell your younger self? That you're going to be okay. That you're going to be going through some stuff. And all that stuff that you're going through is going to make you stronger. It's going to make you more resilient. And hopefully, it'll make you more empathetic and kinder. I'm hoping that. And then again, I'll tell her, well, you're okay. Because, I was always told when I was a little kid, you're ugly, you're skinny, you're black. It's like, I will tell her that she's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, because she's always known that she's smart. Yes. Right? But nobody told her that she was cute. or you just look nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good, like, as young girls to be, like, reminded of that. And yeah, I can't imagine being told that at such a young age. I feel like, it builds resilience, but like at what cost?
And self-esteem,
Yeah,
and
so
self-confidence.
important at that age.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would probably, to add on to that, for other young girls who probably have like big dreams and goals and aspirations, what piece of advice would you tell them to get to that point in maybe like a male dominated space or a place where it's not really set up for women? Yeah, what would you tell them?
I'll tell them that's going to be hard, that they're going to be sidetracked because things are going to happen in their lives.
Yeah.
Things they'll get distracted this way and that way. But to say whatever their goal is, to keep their mind on their goal. Think about what it is you want to do. And whatever challenges, keep your eye on that. Like, for example, I always wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
I was going to be a teacher no matter what. I was going to be an 8th grade teacher, English teacher no less. I wanted to be a professor, right? A speech professor. But whatever it is that you want to do, don't let anybody dissuade you. You focus on that and know that whatever path you take, that path is a learning experience on that same path toward your destination. So when you feel like you have a setback, when you're in that space, go, what am I learning from this? And I'm just learning this recently. So when we feel down, when we're going through a time in our lives where we're depressed or we're thinking, gosh, all these things are happening to me, take a second and go, what am I learning? What lesson is this going to be for me? And then just keep on that path. And it's like I said to you earlier, in addition to that, know that your voice is important. Your voice needs to be heard. And your voice is new in these spaces. So when it's criticized, ignore the criticism and keep doing it until people get used to it. Right?
Yeah.
Because think about a new song. You hear a new song, you're kind of, I'm not sure about that song.
Then it grows on you.
But the more you hear that song, the more you like it, right?
Yeah.
And then you learn that song. It's going to grow on you.
Yeah.
Right? And people are going to like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good advice.
Absolutely.
And then for the last thing, you tackle so many things on the daily. You told us just a little bit of everything that you do. How do you just manage and aspect your day-to-day life? Like, how do you stay organized and professional and just get everything done that you need to do?
I have a calendar. My calendar's on my phone, and I write everything down that I'm going to do that day, and I just check it off. If not, I'll go nuts.
Yeah.
Right. And I did this in college. Yeah. When I was in college, you can be overwhelmed, like taking all these classes, your work. And what I learned to do was that I would have a calendar with Sunday to Sunday, and I would pick one day when I'm not doing anything. That was my day. And so I scheduled the rest of the week. Like, I woke up at 6. If I got up at 6:30 in the morning, what am I doing from 6:30 to 7? In half-hour increments. From 6:30 to 7, I get out of bed. I'm doing this. From 7 to 7:30, I'm driving to BART. From 7:30 to 9:30, I'm on BART. What am I reading on BART? Right. So I had every single hour of my day planned. And so now I have my schedule in my head. I know Mondays and Wednesdays I'm at Napa Valley College. Tuesdays and Thursdays I'm at Solano College. Now I can fill in the rest of my day. Yeah. And I plan, my entire year is planned.
Oh wow!
So it's like yesterday I had 5 things to do. This morning, I went to one of the schools. I met 2 students. I had a meeting with the superintendent. I taught my class. I'm here with you. And after this, I'm going to go to my night class. It starts at 6 o'clock for their final presentations. And that's just one day.
Wow. That's really good advice.
And then I took out the trash this morning.
You got to keep up with it every day.
You got to do your housework too.
Yep.
Right?
Yes, there's so much.
Yes.
So I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit.
Yes, and that's what we women still do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I feel like every day it's so many different things to tackle, but writing them down.
Yeah. And get a husband, get a significant other who can cook. Like my one, I'll have to say, another thing I adore about my husband is that he cooks for us. I make big meals. He'll make sandwiches. Like I'll come home, he'll make dinner. He comes home from school, he'll go to the store, buy groceries, and he'll come home and make a salad and he'll make us dinner.
Wow.
Right?
You got lucky.
I did. I so got lucky.
Yeah.
I really did.
But he also got lucky too.
I think we both are. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your time here. I really appreciate talking to you and just getting to know all of your knowledge and all that. So yes, thank you again.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for joining us on another episode of On Campus here on the Solano College Sports Network. I am your host again, Brooklyn Gonzales, and I had the honor of being joined by our special guest, Petero, and we will see you in the next episode.
If you are interested in a career in sports broadcasting,
whether you're commentating a live game
or hosting your own TV show,
for more information, contact Greg Poff. That's me at solano.edu.
we hope to see you here next semester. And remember,
it's more than just sports, it's an education.